He also tells me I work all day long.
Now I'll explain why movement is essential even if a person is working. When a person is working, they are expending prana energy. That means that they are not accumulating it. You worked a little bit in the garden, then rested. Then you worked again, then rested again. Your air energy circulation goes through a maximum of 1-2 energy layers. A person won't work for 4 hours without a break for rest. Would he be able to work without a break for rest?
That's exactly how he works.
4 hours without a break for rest? Doesn't even stop once to take a break?
He finishes one work, moves on to another one.
I need to get to the bottom of this subject. Do you have a photo of your husband?
Just wait a moment.
If all of his 5 layers of the human energy field are cleansed, then I'll believe you. But more often than not, people who do physical work, they only have the first 2-3 energy layers cleansed, and then there's a strong imbalance between the first layers and the last ones. And then the person has joint and spinal problems. Depending on where the imbalance occurs, that's where the problems start in the body. And that doesn't mean he has to start by walking. Because if a person is working, their water energy is heavily depleted and static blockages accumulate. But that doesn't mean that dynamic tension is worked through. The same is true for athletes in the gym. It's a classic problem for them. A person trains, roughly speaking, twice a week for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. At best, they are working through 3 energy layers. And the last 2 energy layers aren't involved at all. And that's where the major joints and the spine are located. As a result, after 2 years, their spine just stops working properly because it is not being treated. But the strain continues.
This photo was taken 2 years ago.
Was he working at this time already in the garden?
When?
2 years ago.
Yes, he's been managing a household for 10 years.
1, 2. Well, it's a classic problem of people who do physical labor. His first 2.5 energy layers are very clean, light, but beyond that it's a complete disorder. The joints will still be fine, but the spine, theoretically, should already be starting to gradually suffer. And the nervous system is also concerned, and the body is severely lacking in water energy.
He had a spinal fracture.
That's the weak spot because of the fracture, because it's depleted. Put a little bit of load on it and it causes a fracture. This is all the result of an imbalance that usually occurs in people who do physical labor and athletes. Same thing, I have an acquaintance. He is an athlete. He says, I'm a marathon runner. I run, train on all 5 energy layers every day. Why does everything hurt inside of me? I say, because you need to do static exercises for 5 energy layers every day and sit in the water every day. If you do dynamic exercises every time, he started doing that. Everything recovered for him. Everything has to be done in balance, and then the body will be healthy. And a person can live a long time if they train that way.
I'd like to know about the spleen now. It's so nice to meet a girl from Ukraine. It turns out she doesn't have a spleen. I was worried about how to live without it.
The spleen is replaceable. If one does all the cleansing for the 5 energy layers, then part of the spleen function is produced in the liver. And part of it is in the bone marrow. Now even mesenteric cells in the intestines can be produced. The spleen is the kind of organ that can be completely replaced by other organs. It's an organ that is replaced if the body is active and is functioning normally. But if the body isn't functioning normally, then there is a lack of the strength to make that replacement.
Thank you.
His body isn't functioning normally right now.
Because of what?
To replace the spleen, you need to cleanse all 5 energy layers. You need to sit in the water, do static and movement exercises for all 5 energy layers. Then the spleen will begin to recover. But I think it will recover on its own. He seems like a pretty strong guy, as I can see.
Yes, he's theoretically very strong. It probably helped him after the accident.
Well, we've solved all your questions. That's it. Shall we?
I have running problems. That means I can walk, for example, for 5 energy layers. Today I had a personal best. I ran 2.5 kilometers and felt great. I'm starting to feel a very strong pulsation in my head, just a pain in my temples.
The answer's already there. You need to sit in the water, do static exercises. My dear ones, there's one answer to all these questions. Let's say you can't run, or it's hard to run or walk. There's one answer to all these questions. First, sit in the water, do static exercises, then prolong continuous movement. That's it.
I feel really bad during static exercises.
And that's exactly your problem, and it needs to be solved. You need to sit in the water, do static exercises. They'll make you feel bad at first, then it'll get easier. And when you cleanse the blockage with the water energy will start to circulate in the body. Then it won't be a problem for you whether you walk or run. There will be no difference.
I was sitting in the water, it was tolerable. This is more or less normal in the water.
That's it.
But what about static exercises?
Because it's one thing to absorb water energy and quite another one to ensure its circulation. This means that you have a slight lack of water energy. Your circulation is disrupted. This is called energetic blockages. You have pronounced blockages of water energy. For example, a person may have a lot of air energy inside, but it circulates poorly. This means blockages related to air energy. And a person, let's just say, likes to be outdoors, but when they start to do a prolonged continuous movement, they start having problems. Where there are problems, there are health disorders. You can easily check it out. If you ran and felt bad, then there are problems there. This means that there are energetic blockages there. There are certain laws about what needs to be done, and you can't argue with them. If you have energetic blockages related to the stationary position of the body and related to movement, then first you need to remove energetic blockages related to the stationary position of the body, and then those related to the movement. Once we ran in Prague, and people ask me during the jog, they ask, "Can you determine who can run how much?" I answer, "I can." They ask, "How do you determine this?" I answer, by static tension blockages. Where there is an energetic blockage, your body will feel an increased heat there. Your pulse will rise significantly, and you won't be able to run any further. I told them how much they will be able to run. And that's exactly what happened. The person is running, everything is fine. Then they reach an energetic blockage. The energetic blockage is not related to running, but to a lack of water energy and circulation. And a person begins to feel a strong heat in the body, weakness, and their pulse rises, and they can't run any further, that's it. First, you need to remove the static tension blockage, and then, after that, the dynamic tension blockage.
How to endure it in a static position?
Look at how it's done. Let's say you're standing. If you feel bad, sit down for 20 seconds, then stand up again. If you still feel bad, you can do this 3 times. If you still feel bad, then you need to stop it. And then, try again in 2 or 3 weeks. If you keep doing everything, there will come a moment when you'll feel that you're not feeling so bad anymore. Then you'll pass one energetic blockage, then the next. Then you'll learn how to do it without breaks for 65 minutes.
Yesterday during prayer, no matter how hard I tried not to feel it, I couldn't. There were so many unpleasant sensations that I just couldn't endure it.
Your water energy circulates very poorly in the body. That's it, my dears. We've already gone through the 5th round. That's enough. That's it. Next one. Young lady, your question.
Thank you. About a year ago, I asked you a question about a benign tumor. Maybe you can tell me how things are now.
No, you need to do an ultrasound.
I did it. My condition has improved, but the tumor has not completely disappeared.
Not all at once. Imagine that the benign tumor has decreased. That's good. Keep it up and then it will completely disappear. The body can't completely get rid of a benign tumor in 5 seconds.
It's been going on for about half a year now.
Half a year is not so much for a tumor, it's a short time. Where is the tumor located? In which energy layer?
In the uterus.
These are the 3rd and 2nd energy layers. This is normal. This requires dynamic exercises for 2 energy layers and fasting for 2 energy layers. This means that you need to fast 24 hours once a week. Do it on Tuesdays.
I did it on Fridays.
It is good for the lining of the uterus to do this on Friday. And keep applying spruce roots on your left arm and left leg too.
Should I continue, right?
Yes, from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. keep practicing fasting and doing prolonged continuous movement for at least 2 energy layers. And don't forget to do water practices and static exercises for 2 energy layers so that the water energy isn't depleted. When a tumor is being dissolved, the energy of water in the body is quickly depleted.
The situation is such that there's no confirmation that it's a polyp. The doctors say they need to cut it out and then send it to the laboratory. And only after that they'll say if it's there or not. So until now, I don't know if it's a tumor or something else.
I already know that after the surgery they say to a person, "We have 2 pieces of news for you, one good, the other bad." Which one would you like to hear first? The bad one first. We accidentally amputated the wrong leg. And now the good news is that the sore leg has healed by itself. I already know these medical jokes, it's okay. We're familiar with this. You don't need surgery. Continue the healing process.
Thank you.
You don't eat meat and fish?
No.
Well, that's good. And after 6 p.m. and late in the evening, also avoid eating meat, fish, grains, legumes, dairy products, and sweets if you have a tumor.
I got it, thank you.
Okay, the question is from the back row. Give the microphone to that lady over there. Over there.
Thank you, Dr. Torsunov, for the opportunity to ask a question. I really wanted to ask you.
Why are there so few of you? Are they all extinct or what? What happened?
The weekend has just ended. Everyone is back to work.
I thought it was a survival marathon. Sit down, sit down.
Should I sit down?
Yes.
I feel uncomfortable.
People can't listen standing up. A person is either standing or listening, one of two things.
I wanted to ask a question about my sister. She had a stroke 5 years ago.
Does she listen to my lectures?
I urge her to do this.
My dear, what's the point of asking if people won't follow the recommendations? Why should I waste my time on this? Tell me. If I explain and she doesn't follow through, it's just a blank shot, it's just wasted time, that's it.
She did yoga, and during the practice, she had a stroke. She listened to you, listened to many others, and considered herself the smartest and most knowledgeable of all the others. That's why.
What can I do, especially if she's the smartest of us?
I can just convince her. I'll say, I personally met Dr. Torsunov, asked him, and he told me everything.
Then you'll need a photo. I'm not smart enough to convince the smartest ones. Listen, when a person does yoga and doesn't stay in the water energy is gradually decreased as a result of circulation. A person makes the energy of water circulate through the body, but doesn't replenish it, and as a result it dries up. As a result of doing yoga, the water energy level has become very low. In addition, there's a strong dynamic energetic blockage in the third layer. This is a lack of air energy and a lack of sun energy, hence the excess weight, due to a lack of sun energy in the third layer. And the third layer is the blood vessels, which means that the water energy level is equal to 0. Even if there are no energetic blockages, the water energy is simply not enough. Two energetic blockages together cause either vascular sclerosis, where cholesterol accumulates, or indicate a strong increase in the level of toxins. There will be swelling in the head, disrupting blood circulation. Blood pressure can rise significantly. All practices should begin first with staying in the water, then with yoga. What is yoga? A person sits for 2 minutes in one position, then 2 minutes in another one. Nothing is cleansed. The water energy is simply consumed. This is the whole point of yoga. Flexibility and workability are increased, but energetic blockages are not cleansed. I have an acquaintance. He is a yoga instructor who says, for some reason my knees hurt, probably because of an occupational injury. I say, you just have energetic blockages. He says, but I do static poses. I say, you do them for 5 minutes. But to heal your knees, you need to stay in one position for 40 minutes, otherwise they won't heal.
During this period, her whole life fell apart. There was a divorce.
It was a difficult period. That was about 2.5 years ago, right?
But it seems to me that for the last 5 years, she has had some kind of endless drama.
Yes, it was a difficult period. Now it's an easier period. But nothing changes from this. The energetic blockages remain the same as they were.
May I ask a personal question? Constantine and I are planning to get married.
They haven't got married yet. Stay calm. Don't worry.
We met during the preparation.
During what kind of preparation?
For the festival.
Oh, that's good.
We have been preparing very hard.
Oh, good. You see, it turns out that festivals are necessary.
What stands behind you is her work.
Really? Cool. Well done.
And here's another question. Which period is better to choose?
For a wedding?
Yes, and some guidance and advice.
All right. Depending on your fate. You can get married in a week starting today.
Congratulations.
This is one of the options. The second option starts on the 21st or 22nd of October and lasts until the end of November. So either now or later there will be a good period. August, September is a bad period for a wedding. The first half of October isn't better either.
Thank you very much.
Look at how girls like it when someone gets married. Women have a collective consciousness. When any man's head is turned, all women are happy. No, they just have a collective consciousness. They root for each other. But if there's a man between two women, they'll be ready to cut each other's throats.
The men are laughing at this moment.
Your question.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is, why do the muscles keep tensing up, in my case the back, but as soon as they get better, they tense up again?
Because the cause of the disease lies in the subtle energy body. The subtle energy body is responsible for the energy of the entire body. It's disorders in the subtle energy body that determine health problems. A physiotherapist is able to help with the physical body, but not with a subtle energy body. In the subtle energy body on the third energy layer, there's an acute shortage of water energy and a very strong blockage connected with air energy. These two energy blockages stand together and thus create tension. Because it is the lack of water and air energy that causes all types of tension in the body, while the lack of sun energy leads to the formation of toxins, excess weight, and tissue malfunction. This is what the lack of sun energy leads to, and in particular you have an acute shortage of water and air energy. And this is a severe deficiency. Did you stand in the water with us? No. You're even afraid to go into the water because of the acute shortage of water energy, and you immediately start shaking. Therefore, while you're for 3 energy layers in water, if the water temperature is 21 degrees, then each energy layer takes about 8 minutes, so you need to stay in this water for 24 minutes at least once every 2 weeks. Stand for 40 minutes and practice 2 hours and 40 minutes of continuous brisk walking. This should be done for 6-7 months just to cleanse energetic blockages, and then physiotherapist work will be successful. Then this work will give good results, but what's happening now? The muscles of the back and, in general, the muscles of the entire body are very tense, and this is the third energy layer. Why are they tense? Because they don't have enough energy. When muscles have an acute shortage of energy, they become tense.
Does static exercise include any exercise or anything specific?
The standing pose is the best thing for you. Because if we're talking about the spine, then in order to really affect the muscles, either the diamond pose or the standing pose is necessary. My dear ones, you see, there's one answer to all questions. You follow the methodical health guide and you do everything. The method is very universal. You do everything and everything helps. Let's take Oksana as an example. She does everything. There was some kind of imbalance in her body. For example, her back began to hurt. Oksana tried a massage, but nothing helped. How is it now?
It wasn't very good, but I went out for a walk at 4:45 anyway, and now everything is good.
It's getting better, right? You see, she's going through a bad period. Her body is severely lacking the energy of water. She's standing in the water. She does dynamic exercises. And static exercises too, right? You need to do everything and everything will be recovered. But you also need to understand that you have a bad period, which is superimposed on your back treatment. The recovery process is underway, but due to the fact that water energy suddenly was depleted due to a bad period, the treatment turned into an aggravation. An emergency situation has occurred and there's simply not enough water energy because the body planned to treat the back. The treatment continues and a bad period has been imposed on it. Water energy suddenly became deficient and this leads to inflammation. The bad period will last for about 3 more weeks and then it will end. And during this time your back will ache and this pain means healing. Don't be afraid of that. It will heal in about 4 or 5 months, and that's it. It will never hurt again. My back has been hurting for 3.5 years.
I want to start running, not walking. Is it too early?
Not yet. Water energy will be depleted too much. You need to wait 3 weeks.
What should be done when a difficult period comes and, for example, too much water energy is depleted?
Spend more time sitting in the water. For example, despair. The person is in despair, in a state of stress. When I was stressed, I sat in water for 5 energy layers every day. I sat every day and it helped me.
So it's normal to sit in water for 5 energy layers for a certain period of time, right?
If there's despair, strong resentment, or anger inside, when you want to tear someone apart, then you need to sit in the water.
Until it passes?
Yes, until it passes, it's normal. You sit in the water for 5 energy layers every day.
And after that, can I do static exercises?
Yes, you need to do static exercises. If you just sit in the water, stiffness and swelling will appear in the body. After that, you need to do static exercises.
Dr. Torsunov, what about static exercises if there's one favorite and you don't like the others?
This means that you have a strong static tension inside, and your body has found one way to get rid of it. And then gradually you can include the others. Over time, you need to start slowly. I understand that you don't want that.
I like to stand near a tree.
That's great. There's no need for that yet. Continue to stand near the tree for another half a year. And then it will become easier. You still have an acute shortage of water energy in your body. You need to sit in the water. You see, you don't like sitting in the water. You need your body to get used to it. Like the song goes, I'm the water spirit, I'm the water spirit, I live a single life of koi. Look at this girl, how well she ran behind us, she overtook all of us.
Yes. I wanted to thank you. I was happy, especially when I was sitting in the water. I feel very good. Thank you very much. I wrote down 2 questions.
Are you from Igor's team?
Yes.
I remembered where I saw you, on his online sessions.
The first question is how to overcome greed. And the second one, how to adjust the regime of the day and learn how to wake up early.
You need to overcome greed with greed, I'm kidding. Greed is a type of goal-oriented behavior and lack of knowledge. You need to understand that there are deep reasons for everything. For example, I couldn't understand why I couldn't stand the feeling of hunger. For a long time, even just thinking about fasting made me break into a cold sweat. Now I can fast. I've been watching Igor a lot. But if we talk about the deep reason, then in my past life I passed away as a result of hunger. That is, I starved to death in a concentration camp. And when a person dies of hunger, naturally, in the next life, the very concept of hunger is stressful for them because they've already received such a blow from this, so to speak, experience. So I approached it gradually. At first I learned not to eat in the morning, and for 20 years now, I've been fasting regularly for 16 hours a day. But the fear of not eating is on the 5th energy layer, and at the end of the 5th energy layer, I have an energetic blockage related to toxins. When there's an energetic blockage at the very end of the 5th energy layer, it always comes from a past life. This is a greeting from a past life. The same goes for greed. Most likely this is due to your past life. What are you being greedy about? You can't be greedy about everything, but about something specific. About food too. What else?
I am thinking about household items. We have a simple big family.
You see, we have a big family, and you're a girl. And who are the others?
3 girls and 2 boys.
When there are a lot of girls, they all control territory and things. It's a female's nature to control territory, things, and money. 3 points: money, territory, and things. 3 girls, and they all control territory, things, and money. Naturally, there is competition between girls for who owns what, right? This is purely because of this karmic situation. It started from childhood.
But I don't like that I have it. What should I do about it?
For example, I didn't like that I was always greedy about food all the time. I decided to distribute food at lectures, and immediately it feels easier. When you start giving everything away to others, it instantly feels lighter. Hunger still remains, the craving for food persists, but it becomes much more manageable than before. You simply need to do the opposite of what you usually do. Whatever you're greedy about, give that away. If you feel inclined to give something to someone, just go ahead and give it. For me, there's no greed when it comes to helping people or healing them. But when it comes to food, that's where it starts. Oksana knows this, right? Like a little elephant, you just have to gradually overcome this through serving others and practicing selflessness. But the root cause of this stems from a past life. This is how I see your past life. In old age, you overindulged in food, and you left that life in that state. And it has carried over into this life. A lingering feeling, an unpleasant residue. You just need to steadily overcome it. Fear of your shortcomings is a misplaced feeling. Any shortcoming is merely a workload. Treat it calmly. Someone might say, I want to quit smoking, and when they smoke, there are 2 options. Either smoke or don't smoke, but you need to choose a 3rd option. The 3rd option is when you stop focusing on it and start doing things that help you quit smoking. That could be prolonged, continuous movement across 5 layers, cleansing the blockage and gradually resolving the issue. It's the same with alcohol. Alcohol dependency is treated through water and static exercises because drinking creates a blockage in water energy. But the intense significance of this event itself doesn't allow you to get rid of it easily. If greed holds strong significance for you, the first step is to accept it within yourself. Accept it. Approach it calmly. For example, if the kitchen is dirty, stop overthinking it. Calm yourself and cleaning it will become much easier. If you obsess over it, either you'll clean it until you're exhausted or you'll completely ignore it. That creates a mental imbalance. If you feel like you must clean it until you drop, then it's easier to ignore it altogether. But if you stop focusing on it and stay calm, you'll gradually overcome it. The first stage of overcoming one's fate is called acceptance. The first stage is to accept. All right? If you wake up late, that's due to static tension in your energy. If you can't fall asleep, that's also static tension. This needs to be addressed. You should spend time in water twice a week and practice static exercises, ideally every day. This static tension comes from a lack of water energy. It's called a restless mind. When the mind is restless, it means there's a water energy deficiency. When you spend time in water, like today, you feel calmer, right? That feeling of calm means your energy levels are sufficient. When there's enough water energy, a person becomes calm and goes to bed on time. In general, you should spend time in water 4 times a week for your whole life. In her case, it's temporary, but she needs to do it every day. Everyone should at least sit in water once a week for their entire life. She needs to do it twice a week. To recharge water energy in the body, it first needs to be strengthened. The energy of air is already strong. You run well. Now it's time to work on water energy. See how caring she is. All right, let's move on. We talk every day, young man.
I have a general question.
Let me first ask the others. There are modest people who are shy. Sir, how about you?
When is the best time to do cleansing practices?
You can do them even after 12 p.m. It's not recommended to do cleansing practices after 6 p.m., except for water-related practices. Water is fine even at night because it's under the influence of the moon, so there's no issue there.
I struggle with fasting. I can only fast for 18 hours.
You have very strong blockages related to sun energy, not just sun energy, but also air energy. This puts you at risk of oncology, so it's essential to follow all practices. Start with water, static exercises and water, then move on to dynamic exercises and prolonged continuous movement for 5 layers. Only then should you begin sauna practices or fasting on greens.
What about air? I've been walking for about 4 years now.
You've almost resolved your issues with air. The difference between where you were and where you are now is like night and day. Are you doing static exercises as well?
Yes, I started this January.
You're doing well. Now it's time to start fasting on greens. Sit down. No, leave the microphone and then sit. Now it's time to begin fasting on greens. This is a simple fast. It's also healing. There are 3 types of fasting that heal the subtle energy body. Fasting on greens, which is the most adaptive. It heals the subtle energy body very gently. Then there's water fasting and dry fasting. These heal the subtle energy body by addressing a lack of sun energy. They cleanse blockages and slightly replenish the body with sun energy. These are 2 practices in one. When you fast, sun energy enters the body more strongly and blockages are cleansed. You can try this practice or combine it with sauna therapy. For example, after doing the 5-layer water practice, get a thermometer that measures both temperature and humidity. In the sauna, the sum of the temperature and humidity should equal 100. What does that mean? For instance, the temperature could be 60 and the humidity 40. The temperature should not be lower than 60. Or even better, 70 degrees with 30% humidity. Even better, 80 degrees with 20% humidity. Humidity typically doesn't go lower than 20%. If the sum is 100, 1 layer is cleansed in 10 minutes and the person can lie there comfortably without feeling overwhelmed. Cleansing happens very gently. You can stay there for 50 minutes. After cleansing 5 layers with water, 50 minutes is manageable. If the sum is 110, that's also a comfortable level. For example, 80 degrees with 30% humidity. At a sum of 110, 1 energy layer is cleansed in 9 minutes. With these conditions, you can try lying there for a longer time to cleanse all 5 layers. However, starting with the 3rd layer, your lack of sun energy becomes very dense and the blockages get much stronger. You'll have to work on these either with the sauna or through prolonged fasting. Fasting for 36 hours on greens cleanses 3 layers, but at the end of the 3rd layer you hit a blockage, so you can fast for a maximum of 30 hours. Beyond that, it gets intense. So you'll need to push yourself further over time. You can start fasting on water and then transition to greens, or stick to fasting on greens the entire time. Right now, it's important to address the lack of sun energy, because at your age, this can already become dangerous for your health. But the rest has been well cleansed. It's clear that now you can live comfortably. The most important thing for a person is to reach a state where cleansing practices are comfortable for them. How does the body transition to longevity? When all three types of cleansing become comfortable, if you can comfortably sit in water for 5 layers, comfortably do static exercises for 5 layers, comfortably do dynamic exercises for 5 layers, and fast for at least 3 layers, then your body transitions to longevity. You can live up to 85 years without illness. The last 2 layers of toxins can be cleansed with a sauna, for example. It's not necessary to immediately jump to a 60-hour fasting. It's a gradual process, because fasting is the most challenging and risky practice for the body. But when a person can practice all techniques for 5 layers, they can plan for an active life up to 80 years. All the time you spend on these asceticism practices will return to you as extended years of life. You see, I'm 60 years old and I was running just fine today, right?
59.
Yes, for now, 59. I'll celebrate my 60th birthday with a trip around the world. In March, I'll have a journey planned for this. From Sochi, I'll first fly to Europe, then to America, followed by Hawaii, Japan, the Far East, and finally back to Sochi. It's easier to travel this way. Did you know that if you fly eastward, the flight and acclimatization are harder to endure? But if you fly westward, it's much easier to handle everything.
I'm so glad I made it here. I want to ask about my husband. We moved from Russia to France.
And that's when it all began, right?
Yes, I'm just worried because he has 3rd-degree arthritis.
That's already a spiral where the condition isn't treated, and his energetic depletion has reached such a point that recovery becomes very difficult. When joints are in severe pain, prolonged continuous movement isn't possible, and without movement the joints won't heal. It feels like a vicious cycle. There is a way out of this cycle. For example, if he sits in water and practices static exercises until the inflammation subsides, it can help. He can also sit near trees. By the way, trees are very effective for treating joints. If, for instance, he sits in water, although with such painful joints, water has limitations, the water temperature should be 28 degrees Celsius. It shouldn't go below that. He needs to sit in water at 28 degrees for 70 minutes. If he can't stand near trees, then he can sit on a chair near certain trees like oak, maple, or linden. These 3 types help treat joints. He can also sit under an older tree. If a person sits near a tree for 20 minutes, water energy in their body is passively cleansed and circulation begins in 1 layer. If someone sits near a tree for 1 hour and 40 minutes, the tree helps cleanse all 5 layers. If they spend 1 hour and 40 minutes reading a book while sitting by a tree, a passive cleansing occurs, which immediately starts an anti-inflammatory process for the joints. Sit in water twice a week. 4 times a week, sit near a tree on a chair with your back leaning against the tree. This will begin joint healing. When the pain subsides, purchase an elliptical machine, a device that minimizes joint strain during movement. Continue cleansing on the elliptical machine. How do you perform cleansing on the elliptical? You need to exercise for 20 minutes. During this time, monitor the walking speed, duration, and average heart rate. These are the 3 indicators. Then check the program to see how much cleansing you achieved in 20 minutes. For example, it might show that you cleansed 3/7 of a layer, as each layer is further divided into 7 parts. So, if you cleansed 3/7 in 20 minutes and your average heart rate was 90 beats per minute, for instance, this is your progress. So on the elliptical machine, you maintain a heart rate of 90 beats per minute. Simply walk on the elliptical with an average heart rate of 90, and you'll cleanse 3/7 of a layer in 20 minutes in the same way. Adjust the distance based on your heart rate.
Can it heal without surgery?
The body restores itself naturally. And what would surgery do? Joint replacement, perhaps? Are the joints completely depleted? Do you not have any joints left at all?
It's at the 3rd stage.
Well, why not try it? What's stopping you? Are you risking something significant, like a great loss? Even if you replace the joints, eventually the bones around the implants will begin to deteriorate. You still need to restore the body's energy first, so that your body can handle the transplant. Without cleansing the body, you won't achieve anything. No energy, no life. You still need to do all of this. There are 2 possible outcomes. Either the body has enough strength to recover and you'll experience a dull pain that gradually subsides while your mobility improves, or the body won't manage it. And in that case, at the very least, you'll handle the surgery well and everything will go smoothly afterward. The question is, will he do it or not?
I'll try to make sure he wants to fix this.
People are afraid of everything and immediately run to the doctor. For example, if I have coxarthrosis, I call the doctor. I know one very influential and wealthy person. He has a personal doctor, and he listens to my lectures. He invited me to his home. He lives surrounded by nature. I visited him. I plunged into icy water. He has his own pool for cold plunges and a sauna. I went into the pool, then into the sauna, and back into the pool again. He kept watching me and finally asked, "How do you feel?" I said, "Like I was reborn. I feel amazing." He said, "Can I do that too? I really want to try. I feel like it could help me as well." I said, "Why not? Let's jump into the water tomorrow. I can do everything with you." He calls his doctor. The doctor says, "You can go into the water, but your kidneys will just fail, and that's it. If you sit in ice-cold water considering your health condition, your kidneys will simply fail." I said, "Well, it's up to you." He says, "Are you trying to tell me my kidneys won't fail?" I said, "I'm 200% sure that on the contrary, your kidneys will actually improve." He kept staring at me. I asked, "Why are you staring?" He said, "I'm deciding who I trust more, you or him."
And who did he trust?
Me, of course. He got into the ice-cold water. Then he went to the sauna for 5 layers, then back into the water, and afterward he was flying. He felt amazing, like, wow. And he started practicing these routines.
Can I ask another question? My husband and I have been together for 10 years, and we still don't have children.
10 years is quite a time. People don't have children because they lack energy. If a woman doesn't even have enough energy for one person, why would the body create more problems for itself? Why bring another person into the body? The body is protecting itself. It won't allow itself to be destroyed. You don't have enough energy, you need to practice, replenish your energy, and that's it. How old are you?
34.
34. Well, that's it then. No, I'm joking. You're still young. Do the practices for 6 months, work on yourself, and that's it. Then it's time to conceive children. He also needs to practice, otherwise his sperm cells won't know what they're supposed to do. Got it?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, my dears, you can ask questions, but if you want to ask something, sit over there. It's more convenient for me. She needs to sit over there.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'd like to ask this. These practices take quite a lot of time if you're practicing water therapy 2 to 3 times a week.
It's less than 20 years. If a person doesn't practice, they're gone by 45. Then it takes 20 years to get back to normal life again. Starting over, first sucking on a pacifier, then learning again. And that's 20 years gone. It's not so much compared to being reborn, is it? Do you agree?
I agree. But the thing is, it takes a lot of time. Family, work. And some people ask, "What are you doing? Why are you always busy?"
You're feeling better, aren't you?
Yes.
Has your husband become happier with you?
Oh, yes.
Does she nag you less now?
She never nagged me.
No? Then why are you happier?
She's become more beautiful.
More beautiful. Excellent.
My question is, all of this takes a lot of energy. And I have a question about femininity. It feels like I'm doing all of this with tension, and it doesn't feel very feminine.
Your husband said you've become more beautiful. That means your femininity has increased.
But it seems to me that it contradicts femininity.
You can think whatever you want, but it's your husband who decides.
Secondly, when I do static exercises, I chant a mantra. But sometimes I feel like there's a substitution happening. I end up focusing on the static exercise rather than the mantra.
Don't focus on the static exercise, focus on the mantra. That way there won't be any substitution.
But I end up waiting for the time to be up. It's hard to wait.
Why wait? You need to accept your fate. This is a great question. I've thought about it too. When a person truly accepts their fate during a static exercise, the prayer flows beautifully. Because what does static exercise do? It forces you to accept your fate. The energy you struggle to process during static exercise is the energy of your fate itself. If you accept your fate, the prayer flows beautifully, perfectly. You just need to learn how to accept it. But if you try to pray without static exercises, you'll see that there's no concentration at all.
I agree. It's better to chant mantras during static exercises, but I feel like I'm substituting the goal.
Then do it without static exercises. It'll be even worse. Didn't drink tea? Where's the strength? Drank tea, completely weakened. You need to continue. There's nothing wrong, everything's fine. Gradually, you won't feel like you're substituting anything. When water energy is fully replenished, you'll be able to sit, pray, and not think about static exercises. Who here used to find it hard, but now they sit and don't think about the static exercise? Good. And your concentration has significantly improved as a result? Much better now. You just have to go through this process. It's a journey you need to take. Do you have a question?
Thank you, Dr. Torsunov.
Why are we holding the microphone? Does it work?
Thank you for the help you've given all of us and me.
This will be the last question. I still have another lecture to give.
Last time you told me that I had an issue on the 5th layer. I regularly walk a lot and pray. I wake up at 6 a.m.
Do you do static exercises? Do you sit in water?
I don't do static exercises, but I stand for a long time, motionless, for 65 minutes.
That is static exercise. You stand for 65 minutes. How often?
Not very often.
Once a week?
Yes.
That's too little. This creates an imbalance. You'll end up with an imbalance. You'll reach a point where your static tension becomes very high and the entire movement-related system in your body will be overloaded. Your joints will hurt and your spine too after such practice.
So I don't need to walk so much?
You need to walk once a week and do static exercises 4 times a week. And sit in water once a week.
I have trouble with water practices.
All right, my dear, do you understand? Is the scope of work and what to do next clear?
Has anything at least partially cleared?
With air, yes. But the lack of water energy is growing, and this will eventually lead to inflammatory processes sooner or later.
So I need to be in water all the time?
What do you mean all the time? Once a week in water and 4 times in static exercises.
Thank you.
You need to pay close attention to the instructions and apply them wisely. There's an Indian parable about this. A teacher says to his student, "I will ride a horse and you walk beside me." He walked on. His teacher lost some of his belongings. They fell off the horse, but the student didn't pick them up and kept walking. The teacher later asked, "Where are my things?" The student replied, "They fell off the horse." "And why didn't you pick them up?" "There were no instructions to do so." The teacher then said, "From now on, everything that falls off the horse must be picked up." Do you understand what happened next? He picked up everything, including the dirt. And so on. I won't continue the story. The point is that you need to use discernment when following instructions. All right, my dears, regarding this methodology, what are the next steps so you don't have so many questions? An educational course is being created. A serious course that will last about 3 months. I'm recording it now, and it's being processed. It will be conducted with mentors. You will learn and try everything in practice. The mentors will provide you with advice. Alongside launching this course, we're finalizing an app. An app will give you assignments on its own. You'll fill out a questionnaire about your health and other details. Self-testing will allow you to understand where your blockages are. The app will identify and mark these blockages, map your subtle energy body, and provide personalized advice on how to move forward and cleanse yourself. You will have a schedule for how to live through this app. It will show you how much cleansing you've accomplished. It will allow you to monitor your progress in the sauna, tracking the cleansing process based on humidity and temperature. It will also help you understand how to cleanse with sunlight and for how long. This entire system will be launched in Russian, English, Spanish, and Chinese. So in a year, you'll have the opportunity to approach this method systematically. Afterward, you can even become instructors. Complete the full training, give advice to others, and work in this field. That was a little commercial break.
You're launching a new course now.
Yes, but that's a slightly different focus.
It also includes a lot of guidance from mentors.
Yes, absolutely. We have a project called the School of Happiness. This project, to some extent, fills the gaps in the process. However, it's not sufficient for obtaining a very systematic and deep education. That's why we're planning to create a separate, serious course that will be regularly offered. But this project still provides an opportunity to some extent address these issues, though not as deeply or systematically. The new course will offer systematic education that is very in-depth and comprehensive. It's like comparing a school to extracurricular activities. This will be a full-fledged school for body cleansing with a systematic approach. When someone completes the full course, they will gain all these foundational elements. All questions will be addressed through this course.
When will it be released?
I'm not sure, not soon. Tentatively, I'd say in about 6 months, maybe 8 or 10 months. If it includes everything together with the tracking system, most likely the complete package will take around 10 months. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.